Hello, everybody. Today marks day 1 of my knitting podcast. I'm very excited and a little bit itchy. So, like every other knitting podcast out there, I figured I would start by just following like the usual format. So, finished objects, works in progress, yarn acquisitions. So this is actually my third time trying to film this video. The first time, straight up, forgot to plug in the microphone right here. I just forgot. I don't even know how I managed that. Today, I think we're properly plugged in. I should be in frame. I should be in focus. I think we're good. But anyways, I digress. Let's get started with finished objects. So beginning with what I'm wearing, this is blouse number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. Let me give you a blouse number 1 tour. Am I even in frame? I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna do a voiceover and then put the clip of me like spinning around in this blouse so that way the audio isn't horrendous. First things first, the drape and like shape of this sweater is so like, it is super flattering on my body type, and I really appreciate the way that it like flows and sits kind of like on my shoulders and kind of around my bust, and like the kind of like bell, almost like open sleeve from my elbows. It was relatively like easy of a pattern. It was just stockinette with some, I guess, like raglan increases. I think so. I think that's the word. It has German short rows in the back, and then actually I can't remember if it had any in the front. Did it? I don't think it did. But it really makes like a nice like boat shape, I guess, sort of on the neck. I would call this like kind of boat shaped. I definitely was kind of having second sleeve syndrome when I was knitting this, because I think the stockinette just like wasn't stimulating enough in my brain to where I was staying interested. But then it hit me and I was like, dude, it's how many inches of stockinette and it's a smaller circumference. Just knock it out. So I did. I knocked it out in like 2 days. So one sleeve took me like 2 weeks, and then the other took me 2 days. So that was certainly the power of my mind and motivation at work, which it rarely works, but it did this one time. The yarn that I used was, okay, I don't know if this brand still exists or if this is now technically like Roman yarn, but this is RYC Baby Alpaca DK, and then it just says classic yarns along the side. This is in the shade Herdwick 206. This is 100% baby alpaca, and there's 109 yards per 50 gram ball. As much as I hate to admit this, I bought this from someone on Reddit. Now, before you call me a Redditor, or whatever it's called, just hear me out, okay? 1, I had my boyfriend walk me through everything, show me like, okay, here's where you want to stay away from, here's how you want to be careful, here's how you verify that whoever's like selling yarn on Ravelry like isn't a scammer. And 2, I use my brain when I'm on Reddit. So I've been pretty safe so far. The lady that I bought this from was actually so nice. She was so sweet. She set up a very positive experience of Reddit so far, at least in the yarn subreddit. So thank you, lady. I appreciate you. But yeah, so I bought 8 skeins from her, and I only ended up using 6. So I still have 2 full skeins plus a little like smidgen extra, I guess. I was a little nervous about this being baby alpaca, that I was gonna like get a little bit itchy, which I know I said at the beginning that I'm itchy, which is like partially true, but I also think as soft as this is, I would say that it has kind of a prickly aspect to it almost. So the arms, the shoulders, the back, the stomach, all that stuff is not really itchy or prickly, but I think the only part that I feel it is like kind of closer to the collarbones, which was expected. I definitely wouldn't say that it's enough to like deter me from wearing this sweater, because I do like it. Maybe just I guess this is more so like a learning experience of what like yarns maybe don't match with my skin super well. Overall, the yarn is good, very chill. The pattern was fun, relatively simple and easy to knit. I can see it being quick for somebody, but for me, for some reason, well, you know what? A month is actually relatively fast for me, so I'll give myself credit there. But I feel like I probably could have knitted it faster. The only thing that wasn't my favorite about this pattern, which I did see a couple of people in the Ravelry comments had issues with, or at least like in their patterns as well, was that where the arm and the body connect kind of gives you a little bit of like a bat wing in a way. Let me show. There were a couple of people that were able to like kind of find solutions to this, as like maybe like starting the split for the sleeves a little bit sooner. So if I were to knit the pattern again, I might try to kind of follow along the steps of what somebody else did, but I wouldn't say that this is enough to like really bug me. I can't imagine like doing severe jumping jacks in this sweater, so I should be okay. But that's just like a tiny thing that I noticed with my I guess how my sweater turned out, and also how a lot of other people's turned out. Again, not something that seriously bugs me too much, but just something that I noticed and that other people noticed. Kind of in conclusion, I really liked knitting this sweater, and I really like the way that it looks on me. I definitely will be knitting more. I'm curious as to how maybe like a cotton blend yarn would look or like work, so I might have to try that. All right, on to the next. This next one that I'm going to show you is actually something that I had talked about making in my flock haul video for 2025, and I made it already. So this is the Twist It Beanie by Kutavakika. Look how beautiful this yarn is. I am still just as flabbergasted by this yarn as the day that I picked it up in the skein. I just think that the colors are so nice together, and they're so pretty, and and like, I don't even remember what I said. I think I said like unicorn poop or something. Yeah. I talk so highly of this yarn. I don't even actually remember what it's called, but I'll put it in the description or like on screen or something. But I loved how this worked up, and it's the yarn, it's just, wool. It could be like Peruvian Highland wool or something like that, but it's really soft, and I don't find that it irritates like my forehead too much. In terms of the pattern, you knit a big fat frickin' ribbing tube, and then you start with the actual cables you end with the cables, end with the cables at the end, and then just cinch the top into a little butthole. I was really like craving knitting cables, and so this definitely scratched that itch for me a little bit. Something that I really like about this beanie pattern I've only knitted, I think, one other beanie pattern in my lifetime, so I actually don't know how much I have to compare it to. But something that I really liked about this beanie pattern is that the ribbing, I don't know how to hold this. I'm like crashing out. I really appreciate that the ribbing has you knit, like once you reach a certain point, the ribbing has you knit just a round of stockinette, so that way you kind of have a point that's like, oh my god. One sec. You kind of have a point that is like easy to fold the brim up. I was hesitant at first to do a triple fold because I imagined, my ring has entirely flipped around. I imagined the brim like coming all the way like out here or something, and then my ears looking like they're humongous underneath the brim. That was not the case at all. it actually serves as a really nice, like, warm, like, cover for your ears too. So it's kind of like where you're wearing earmuffs with the hat. So I will be considering adding a triple fold brim to many more of my hats. Every time I wear a beanie, I feel like a bald man. Like I imagine that this is what it's like to be Mr. Clean. Or maybe Jeff Bezos. Just very smooth. I don't know. Is that crazy? Anyways, very fun pattern. I really enjoyed it. And it worked up super fast. So it was like instant gratification. So the last finished object that I have to show you is the Sunday Funday scarf by Wendee Shulsen. This was a free pattern that was a part of the Puget Sound Local Yarn Store Tour 2025. This was a pattern at Hazelknits in Seattle that you could go there, pick it up, buy the yarn for it, whatever you gotta do. The pattern calls for Hazelknits Casual DK, which is a blend of superwash merino, cashmere, and nylon. I decided to go for knitting for olive cotton merino, which is a fingering weight yarn, and then pairing it with some random mohair that I had. I think I bought like one Santa's Garn tin silk mohair, so I just had like a little bit of that left, so I just used that. The cotton merino from Knitting for Olive was actually on sale at one of my yarn shops that I go to, and I got it for like $5. So I was like, yeah, I'll make a scarf out of this. I heavily modified the pattern for the most part. I wanted more so of a, I guess, like mini scarf sort of, because I know that those are very trendy. And also I don't have the patience to knit an entire scarf. So I was like, this is like right up my alley. So this is, so this is my scarf. I don't know how to show you how long it is. I think I just ended up knitting until I reached the length of like the large size of Petite Knit Sophie scarf, because I liked the way that looked on people. So I kind of aligned the length of how I knitted this to the Sophie scarf. So basically it starts out with the lace pattern, and then you just introduce more and more, I guess, like portions of the lace pattern as you go down. So I ended up stopping, I think, at like row 100, which was kind of like two of these like wide ribbing, and then one little like set of the lace pattern. If you were to follow the pattern like normal, you would end up with two more of the like, I guess, ribbing repeats, one more of this, two more ribbing repeats, and then one more of this again. Hopefully that made sense. So the scarf would be a lot wider than the way that I knitted it. So I stopped at row 100, and then I think I just repeated the pattern repeat until I reached the portion of like kind of like the middle section, and then I would start doing the decreases. Okay, yeah, now that I'm looking at the pattern again. So I stopped at row 100, which was a total of 20 stitches on the needle. And then I repeated the pattern so that I could get kind of like a bulk, like the bulk of the length of it done. And then I just resumed at row 317. If you saw the pattern, you would know why the row numbers are so humongous, but because it basically just does the whole thing, row, 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 row. But I just started back up again when I was ready to do decreases at row 317, which brings you down to 19 stitches, and then you just keep getting lower and lower until you reach the end. Okay, this is what she looks like on. this was so much fun. I really, really liked this pattern a lot. I found that it was really easy to follow. It went by really fast. You can use like any yarn size or weight if you want, because it's a scarf. So there's a lot of forgiveness, I guess. I think it turned out really cute as a tiny scarf. But that's not going to stop me from knitting the full thing. I will totally knit the full thing. I wore this to school yesterday and I got a couple of compliments on it and I was like, thank you. But yes, lots of fun. Really enjoyed this pattern. And I appreciate that it's free. Hello. I love a good free pattern. Thank you, Wendee, Shulsen. You are the bomb. One last thing that I thought I should say is that the cotton merino, I don't find itchy at all. The mohair, however, a little bit itchy for me. Okay, well, once again, in my head, itchy and prickly are kind of like a different part of the spectrum. So like prickly, it's not so much to where I can't wear it because it drives me crazy, but just that I feel it and I'm like aware that it's there. I feel like itchy would be me not being able to wear it at all. So Santa's Guard, tin silk, mohair, a little prickly for my taste, maybe just around the neck. Maybe I wouldn't have as many issues with it if it was like on my body more so, but at least for the neck, I don't know. Okay, I have 20 minutes till I have to go to work, so we're gonna make these next portions a little on the faster side. As for works in progress, I only currently have one on the needles, which is impressive for me because I tend to impulsively cast on. It doesn't really look like much as of right now, but this is the lace loop sweater by Other Loops. This is the brown is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in a brown, was it like Merlot Heather or something like that? Like I said, I'll put it somewhere. And then the pink is, I don't know where my skeins are. The pink is like I want to say the brand is like Sheepies or something, and the composition, I guess, is like responsible wool, whatever that means, and then polyamide, I think. I have literally no idea how to like color change when you're doing it flat, so mine is looking extremely messy right now, but my dad complimented me on the color scheme last night, and he just looked at me while I was knitting, and he was like, Ella, that color scheme looks really good. Like, I'm really digging that color scheme. And I was like, Dad, thanks. Because usually when it comes to, like, showing my dad something, he'll be like, nice, cool, good job. But he actually made a real comment about my yarn choice. So I was like, I guess I'm doing the right thing. This pattern, relatively straightforward so far. I haven't found, I think there are any instances that I've had issues. I guess the only thing would just be that I don't know how to change color, but that's also probably user error. It always amazes me how short rows, like the product that short rows create, because this is like how did we get an angle? This is so cool. What? So yeah, so far I've really only done the German short rows section, and I think now I'm kind of just doing like a couple pattern repeats to sort of build up the back panel a little bit before we start the front and then join in the round. Me wanting to make this pattern was definitely partially due to the samples that she knitted in the kind of like photos that she has on the Ravelry page for it. I love the way that the navy blue and the like grayish, like tannish color look together. I think it's so cute. So if I end up knitting another one of these, I'll probably do it in that color scheme, or maybe like switch out the navy blue with like a terracotta red. But yeah, I can't say much about this pattern yet because I'm like barely through it. But so far it's fun. Okay, the last portion of the video is going to be yarn acquisitions and like yarn that I have future projects for. So let me go grab them. First up is a pattern from Maya Ankerstrom on Ravelry. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. She is a Swedish designer. And the sweater that I really want to knit is, I actually kind of feel like it would be a crime if I tried to pronounce it, so I'm just gonna... That sweater. It is the cutest colorwork sweater ever. It is an overall like stockinette sweater with this like design of like stars along the yoke. I saw this and I immediately was like, we're making that. It is made using Plotulopi unspun Icelandic yarn, which I have, pardon the crinkling, I have right here. My color choice for this sweater was heavily inspired by this one sweater of this pattern that somebody made under like the projects tab. I'll put a picture of it right there. And I actually can't. It's so gorgeous. It reminds me of The Little Prince. I just like my heart. I just love it. It's so pretty. I honestly, I wouldn't even say that these are colors that I usually go for, but I was like flabbergasted and just taken to heaven by the look of this sweater. So I had to. The question here is, Ella, are you nervous to knit with unspun yarn? Yes. As you can see, it's a little bit fragile. However, one, I felt it was okay to get this yarn because it is what the pattern recommends. And I got it on sale, so she was a little cheaper than usual. And I also figured that, one, a lot of people said that even though it kind of like falls apart a little bit, that it does create a really like sturdy fabric. So I kind of also just was like, why not experiment a little bit? Because if I like this, then that would be really, really cool, because they come in huge skeins. This is like 300 something yards. So I only had to get 4 in total for a sweater. This yarn definitely is rustic. This almost isn't something that I would usually go for. A couple people said, or at least if I remember correctly, a couple people said that it softened a bit with blocking, so that's good. But 2, the pattern, well, if I look at it again, the pattern doesn't look like it comes too high up on the neck, so I have confidence that I'll be able to like withstand it a little bit better. Though it is, I guess, rough, the like just holding it up to my neck, like the prickliness isn't too bad, surprisingly, and I think that will get better with blocking. But once again, this is kind of an experiment, so I guess we'll see. If I am really traumatized by trying to work with this yarn, then I'll just make the pattern in a different yarn that I like. I'm not too worried about it. But this sweater is definitely going to be a work of art in my wardrobe, and I am so excited to make it. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't know why I cast it on the lacy loop sweater first and not this one. I don't know what the thought process was there. I think this will be a sweater, well, after I finish the lacy loop sweater, I want to work on this one during like closer to like December, November sort of thing. So I kind of figured that this would be like a fun winter project to work on. I am beyond excited. This is going to be epic. Okay, I have 4 minutes to talk about my last yarn acquisition. Maybe I bought this off Reddit. Actually, funny story. Sorry, this is really crinkly. I bought this yarn from the same lady that I bought this yarn from. So we kind of have a relationship going. From what I remember, this is worsted weight, undyed Peruvian Highland wool. Usually, if it didn't have a label on it, I would be like, how do we know you're not lying? But to be honest, I'm not worried about it because, one, I've already bought yarn from this lady before, and she was super duper nice and really understanding, and she describes everything really well, like under her posts. And then 2, it feels like wool. Actually, she said there was a little bit of lanolin in it, so I think it might be like partially super wash-y. Or actually, I don't even remember if I know what lanolin means. Well, despite me not exactly remembering what it means, there's some lanolin in here, which I guess it's like, wait, you know what? Actually, I think it's like kind of some of the natural oil that is left in the yarn that the sheep already produces in its wool. That could be a big fat lie, so actually don't take my word for that. But my desire with this is to just make some sort of cream, like a staple cabled sweater. I have this one sweater that I think I thrifted from, it's technically from American Eagle, and I wore it all the time for like the past like 3 years. But because I've washed it so many times and it's just worn and it was already used before I even got it, it's kind of like, the feeling makes me want to throw up a little bit. Her days are over. I'll just say that. So I was like, I should get yarn to knit my own cabled sweater. So that is what I plan on doing with these skeins. I don't have a pattern picked out yet. I have like a million saved in my Ravelry favorites, but I haven't decided quite yet. I do know that I like this like kind of like undyed cream on my skin tone. I think it looks good. And I still kind of have that itch for cables, so cabled sweater, I don't know. But yeah, that is everything, and that concludes my first ever podcast episode. I really appreciate you hanging out with me today, and I really appreciate everybody who left such nice comments on my first video, which was my flock haul video. Everybody was so cute and so nice, and I just want to say thank you. Even as a kid, when I would make like stupid freaking fake YouTube videos, I always enjoyed the aspect of just like having fun and filming it and doing whatever. So I really appreciate that. It seems like everybody's enjoying my video as much as I had fun filming it. So just thank you so much, and I appreciate you. All right, I have to go to work now. Thank you very much for listening and watching another video of mine. I don't know how my upload schedule is going to be because I'm in full-time college, and that is quite literally sucking my life force out of my body. So not totally sure like when the next upload is, but we'll see. Thank you again, and have a fantabulous day.